Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk About Singing. My name is Marco. I'm a singer, songwriter, voice teacher from Italy, living in New York City. The Sanremo festival just started, and if you are familiar with it, you know that the Sanremo festival is the most important musical event in Italy, and the winner of the Sanremo festival gets to compete in the Eurovision Song Contest. So it's really a big deal. This is the 74th edition of the festival, just to let you understand how important this event is. And it's been going on for 74 years. I wish I could show you the actual reactions to the songs. The copyright is brutal with that. So I just want to talk about what happened in the first night of the festival, first impressions, what are my favorite songs, and I really want to start a conversation with you guys, and maybe you can let me know what you think about the songs and the performances and so on. Before we start, I want to remind you that if you want to book a free consultation, class, coaching session with me, all you have to do is email me at letstalkaboutsinging84@gmail.com or reach out on Instagram, perfectmark.music. That's my account. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a thumb up. So the first thing that I noticed when it comes to this year edition of the Sanremo Festival is the huge presence of electronic music. Now, when I was younger, Sanremo was specifically linked to traditional Italian music, ballads. It was often made fun of for the lack of contemporary artists, and sometimes people would complain that there were too many old artists, people that have gone several times. Well, definitely that's not the case this year. There's so much electronic music. I like that. I feel like Italy has finally understood that there can be good electronic music in Italian, and that it's not a genre that is limited to Americans or artists from other European countries. It's been going on for a few years. I have to say, I've noticed gradually more and more electronic songs competing at the Sanremo Festival, but never like this year. It's really a major presence. And you have, of course, artists that are more traditional, like Fiorella, Mannoia, and they kind of stick to their usual sound. I would say a band like Negramaro, which used to be one of my favorite bands when they came out. They presented a song that it's very typical of their sound, nothing necessarily new. Fiorella Mannoia is an iconic singer when it comes to Italian music, but even in her case, I don't hear anything new. And I don't necessarily mean that artists should necessarily reinvent themselves every single time. I'm totally okay with artists staying faithful to their sounds. But at the same time, I like when even an iconic artist or an artist that doesn't have anything to prove dare a little bit to use new elements or different sounds. I think Loredana Bertè did a really good job with that. She's always been like a rock and roll rebel of Italian music, and she is definitely an icon. Her song is very faithful to her style. At the same time, there are some elements that are very contemporary, and I like that. And she always sounds great. I love her rasp. I was very surprised that she was number one in the final chart, but I mean, she's fantastic. I've always loved her. But I like that she dared a little bit compared to some of these other artists, like for example Nek and Francesco Renga, which are great artists, great songwriters, great singers. The song is, again, very faithful to their usual style, not necessarily anything groundbreaking or nothing that necessarily stands out, but as I said, they have nothing else to prove. They are who they are, and that's their style. And I don't know what you guys think. Do you think that artists of that caliber should still experiment with something new, or do you think that it's fine for them to just stick to their usual sound and propose something that doesn't really bring anything new to the table? Let me know what you think in the comment section. In this sense, I want to bring up the example of Marrone and Alessandra Amoroso, which kind of came out around the same time. They've been in the game for a while now, and they have a very typical sound, very recognizable, even in the songwriting. I would say that Alessandra Amoroso presented a song that it's very typical of her style. It's a classic Alessandra Amoroso song. Emma Marrone surprised me. She chose a direction that it's, again, very electronic, kind of experimental for her. Her use of the voice is not the usual one. I didn't hear much of that usual Emma Marrone sound, but there was a attempt to do something that is a little more pop and contemporary, and I was pretty surprised. What do you think about that? What do you think about this new direction? Should she have stayed faithful to her sound? I'm okay with her experimenting and changing the way she sounds a little bit, both vocally and musically. At least is something different, unlike the Alessandra Amoroso song. Because of the heavy presence of electronic music, I noticed something very interesting. The orchestra is not playing as they used to. I remember a time where the songs used to be necessarily mandatory, performed by the orchestra, played by the orchestra. I heard a lot of tracks. I heard a lot of electronic tracks. I heard a lot of beats that were not an actual drum beat. I barely heard any real drums unless it was for the artists that had a more traditional song. And I don't know how I feel about that. On one side, I think that it makes sense. If the song is purely electronic, it's really, really hard to replicate it with real instruments. So if you want to evaluate it for a possible victory properly, you have to hear it the way it is, so with the presence of the electronic sounds. On the other hand, the lack of the orchestral sound at the Sanremo Festival, to me, is a little bit of a loss. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm a nostalgic. I've been watching the Sanremo Festival since I was a little kid. I don't know. I don't want to hear too many tracks for the Sanremo Festival. Let me hear live music. Let me hear, I don't know, maybe they could have figured out a way to blend the two a little better. Because of the heavy presence of electronic music, I feel that the orchestra is a little bit penalized. Again, let me know what you think. Should there be more real sounds or not? And because of this heavy presence of electronic music, the protagonist of this festival is definitely auto-tune. Now, that is something that is creating a debate among people, singers, musicians, listeners. Should there be auto-tune at the Sanremo Festival? I don't know if this is the first year or the second year. I don't remember if there was auto-tune last year. I don't really remember such a presence of auto-tune. So maybe this is the first year. Auto-tune is something that definitely divides the opinions of people. My opinion about it is I'm not against it. Even as a singer myself and a vocal coach, I am not against the use of auto-tune because the metallic effect that it creates on the voice perfectly blends with a certain style of music that is electronically based. So it kind of makes sense to have the vocals connect with the arrangement in that sense. At the same time, I believe in the use of autotune to enhance somebody's vocals, to make it, as I said, for a stylistic purpose, blend better with the track. When it's used to fix pitch, I'm not necessarily pro the use of it. Because let's be honest, we all know that a lot of the artists that are using autotune during the festival, they would sound a lot worse without it. No doubt. In fact, if you think about it, in the past editions of the festival, we used to hear a lot of singers going off pitch. This year, magically, more or less, they were all on pitch, except for the ones that didn't use autotune that, they didn't really go too off, but you could tell. So, I don't know how I feel about this either. I would like to hear your opinion, guys. Maybe a little bit of autotune, not too much. Do you want to hear the real voices of the singers at the cost of possibly hearing them going off key? Or do you think the autotune at this point is so rooted in contemporary music and especially electronic music that it makes sense to have it even for a live performance? Speaking of electronic music still, I think that when it comes to the productions of the tracks, we've heard some really, really, really good productions, but the song themselves, I'm not really crazy about the majority of them, at least for now. And I know I've only heard them once, so maybe they need to grow on me. But yeah, I've heard a lot of great tracks, a lot of good productions, nothing that melodically stood out. And for me, this is very important. I feel like we've grown accustomed to say that a song is good because it has a great production. I hear that a lot, even among musicians. Sometimes you ask somebody, do you like the song? And they'll answer you, the production is great. Yes, but do you like the song? Would the song work if it was stripped down to piano and voice or guitar and voice? This is, to me, super important. This is crucial, essential. If a song is good, melodically, harmonically, and with good lyrics, you can arrange it in every possible way. You can turn it into an electronic music, but the song works. I feel that a lot of these songs, if you take out the great electronic production, the melody is not that great or not that memorable or not that catchy. So to rely too much on the production, to me, it makes the song lose its value a little bit. And not necessarily there has to be a good production without a good melody. Think about last year. Think about Lazza. Think about Cenere. I think Cenere is the best example of that. Cenere is a great song with a great melody, a great hook, great chorus. The way it opens up, the vocals are awesome. The lyrics are good. The beat, everything works. You could sing Cenere with a guitar and it would still work. Everybody loves that chorus. Aiutami a sparire come cenere. That chorus works in every way. And then the great production enhances the song. But did you hear any song this year that was as good? Among the electronic ones especially, did you hear anything that stood out to you melodically? If you did, let me know. But something, yes, but nothing that drove me crazy, at least. The song that probably had the best combination of good electronic arrangement and good melody and also good vocals is Amore in Bocca, Santi Francesi. I was very impressed. I didn't know them and I think he sounded great. I loved the way he performed. His vocals were spot on. The arrangement was really good. The track was great. The song is very nice. The melody is beautiful. So I feel like that was one of the songs that impressed me the most in this sense of combining a good melody, a good electronic beat, and finally some good vocals. I think that he was probably the best singer, at least male singer, of the whole first night. Because honestly, if we think about it, when it comes to vocals, it's not like anything stood out. You know, Annalisa is an amazing singer. She's a great, great singer. Super technical, super precise. And I actually really like the direction she's taken. She's becoming Italy's pop princess. The song is fun. I don't think it's as fun as Mon Amour or Ero Bellissima. I think that those two are really, really like major smash hits. This one is fun. It's catchy. It's danceable. Good production again. Her voice is great. But we all know she can sing so much better than that. Also, she doesn't have to do it. She doesn't have to prove anything. Vocally, she was spot on. Perfect as always. I want to hear it more and I want to get used to it a little more. My favorite was probably Angelina Mango. Again, another great combination of different elements. I thought, first of all, her stage presence was incredible. She looked gorgeous. She moved very well on the stage. Her voice is beautiful. She can really sing. And musically, there was finally something interesting, like a combination of elements like Latin, folkloristic. I thought it was, never the same, always going in different directions, a little bit of like rap, a little bit of singing. I thought it was probably one of the most original songs, if not the most original song I've heard the first night, together with Mahmood. I think Mahmood also is really good. He's a really good singer. Melodically, you had so many different sections in the song, and so it kept me engaged. I like that he has a distinct sound. Vocally, you recognize him immediately. And even from a musical standpoint, he always tries to insert this Middle Eastern elements that are typical of his roots. That's his heritage. So, even that that's such an Arab sounding melody, and I love that he incorporates those into his music. And yeah, I also thought that his song was probably one of the most interesting ones, at least from a melodic standpoint. And of course, he sounds good as always. And of course, you have singers like Il Volo who are very traditional and they are always impeccable. Their delivery is always perfect. I'm not a huge fan of opera pop, but I actually really like the way they try to sound less operatic and a little more contemporary. So that was a surprise because, usually they go for that sound, and they sounded like three pop singers with a little bit of an operatic influence, but not as strong as they used to do in the past. And out of the three, Ignazio, I think that's the one that was in the middle, the one with the mustache. Damn, that kid can sing. I mean, they're probably 30 at this point. I don't know how old they are, but the tone, the power, the delivery, the projection, and then he was adding a little bit of distortion also on those high notes. I was very impressed by their performance. I know that they're good singers. They've always been good since they were little kids, but I appreciated the fact that they tried to go towards a different sound, even though melodically it's the typical song that they would present, no surprise, but at least vocally it was a little more fresh. One thing that I've been noticing in the past years when it comes to the Italian music, which I also kind of don't follow that much, so a lot of these artists, I don't know, but I notice a lack of diction. And in no way I'm an advocate for perfect diction when it comes to singing, but damn, there are some people like, first of all, I don't understand one single word, but some people really don't pronounce the word. They cut off some syllables, they cut off some vowels at the end, like, they say a word and they don't finish it. And they also have an accent, like they all sound like they're from Milan or from the north. It's a little bizarre for me. I don't know what is this tendency and when did it start, but diction is definitely another topic that people are talking a lot about, and I would love to hear your opinion about it. Think about the difference between, for example, Sangiovanni and Angelina. Sangiovanni, I've never understood a single word he says. I guess that's his thing and people like it, but he cuts off almost every last syllable of every line, or at least the last vowel. I don't know. It's weird, and at this point, I guess that's just what he does, but I don't personally like that. Angelina was singing with a little bit of a accent in her voice, which was interesting because she can definitely sing in perfect Italian. And I think that that's a choice. And I like that. Maybe she's choosing to stay faithful to her roots, to her hometown, the dialect and the accent of the place she comes from. I think it was definitely a choice. I think that she wanted to sound like that. Also, is punk back? Is punk trending in Italy right now? I was very surprised with La Sed and Bunker 44. I thought they were very unusual because I haven't heard punk music or that type of like pop punk, especially in Italian. I haven't heard it in a long time, and I don't know if it's popular right now and I'm just not caught up with the Italian music scene, and maybe you can let me know. But that was definitely an unusual sound and a nice surprise for me to hear. The only thing is, autotune in punk music? No. Just please, no. Like, I feel like autotune is the least punk thing ever. Like, you want to be punk, you have a song called Governo Punk. Give me raw vocals, go off key, scream, shout, like unpolished vocals are one of the main elements of punk music. I thought it was bizarre when I heard the autotune kicking in with like distorted guitar, and I think that it made it lose the punk vibe a little, but I don't know, maybe this is how things are going right now. Maybe autotune will just infiltrate more and more every possible genre. Honestly, I hope not. I want to hear some real vocals. I want to hear some imperfections. I don't care. I like to hear something that it's not necessarily always precise and always tuned. I think that imperfections are a part of the performance, and I just want to hear real sounds, and especially for a genre like punk. In electronic, I can understand, but punk, don't give me the autotune. Please don't. But, other than that, I thought it was a nice surprise, and as I said, I don't know anything about pop music and rock music in Italian. I don't know if it's back or if it's popular, if these guys are famous or not, but yeah, please enlighten me and let me know. The last thing I want to talk about is actually the writers. You know, when they announce the song, they say who wrote the song? I had a feeling that we were hearing the same names over and over and over and over, and that makes me a little sad because, you know, even when I was living in Italy, I always thought that the mainstream music was basically like dominated by the same people that were doing everything. And in this day and age, with the possibility of putting your music out online, you know, the world is different. The music world is different. There are so many more artists, and it's a lot easier to get recognized and get known, and the music scene is so much more diverse, and to hear the same names repeated so many times among the writers saddens me a little bit. Let's give chance to new writers, not just new artists, not just new rappers, not just new trappers, new producers, writers. We need new, young, creative writers, because honestly, we need to evolve. And the only way to evolve is to give chance to people who are new and fresh and independent and young, and just please, not always the same writers over and over. Okay, so these are my considerations after watching the festival first night. Probably I'll change my mind. I will keep you updated. I would like to know your opinion. Even as the nights continue, maybe let me know how things have changed, and let's discuss about it. Let's talk about it. Whether we like it or not, this is the biggest music event in Italy. So it's fun to watch it. It's fun to discuss it. It's fun to like it. It's fun to hate it. You know, let's just create conversation about music, about vocals, about singing, lyrics, and let's take it from there. So just let me know everything you think about. If you agree, if you disagree, anything that you think I missed. Who was your favorite performer? Which one is your favorite song? Who is your favorite artist? Are you disappointed by somebody? Are you surprised by somebody else? Let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, please give me a thumb up and subscribe. I'll see you soon with another reaction and vocal analysis. This is Marco. Let's talk about singing. Ciao.